One sec, I needed some.
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you well.
Oh, good, because I just went to look for my headphones. I can't find them.
Okay.
Usually
No,
I
you
put,
sound fine. I'm gonna have to mute my audio soon. The kids are running around. They're monsters.
oh, okay. There's supposed to be quite a few more people on here, but
Yeah, I saw that. Well, I'm in no rush, so if you wanted to wait a few minutes extra, that's okay.
how are you doing? How was your Christmas?
Really good, really busy. I haven't quite recovered, but I guess getting thrown back into working again.
Yeah.
I need a break from the break.
That's so funny. You go on holidays and then you need a break from the
Yeah,
holidays. I'm sure with little kids, it's probably really busy.
it is. It was good though. Natalie's 2.5, so she really enjoyed everything.
Ah,
I mean,
yeah.
he's 8 months, so we just gave him some wrapping paper and he was happy. But
Yeah, they have sort of a period of time where they're not really that interested in
yeah,
opening presents. I remember one year my daughter, when she was little, it was like, took her like practically the entire day to open her gifts. She really was not interested in opening them.
that's funny.
I thought afterwards, I thought, why didn't we just save them for the year and she could have just had one a day?
That was funny.
But the next year she was really into it. So and now she's
Yeah.
almost 22. So
Oh,
yeah. All right. Well, I think we'll just get started because the way this goes, sometimes people show up and sometimes they don't. And if someone joins us after the fact, then they
sure.
can just join
Sounds
in.
good.
So today's topic, okay, why isn't it working? Let's see. Here we go. Today's topic is about self-awareness and self-observation. So learning to be the expert of you. Are you presenting the image you think you're presenting? You can see here that I've got this cute little picture of the cat looking in the mirror and not seeing himself. So often that's how we are. We think we present in a certain way and other people see us as something completely different. So really trying to figure out how to present what we want to be presenting and making sure that that's happening. So what is self-awareness? What's self-observation and why are they important? Those are the things we're going to talk about tonight. So self-awareness, from the Greek, it is to know thyself. And in the Oxford Dictionary, it talks about conscious knowledge of one's own character, feelings, motives, and desires. So really being aware of what's going on in our own selves. For some reason, my keys aren't working very well. So what might be some benefits of self-awareness? Self-awareness allows us to become conscious of conditioning and preconceptions of our mind. It allows us to see where we're making judgments and assumptions. And when we become more self-aware, we're able to really free the mind from those things. We're able to concentrate on what's going on at the time instead of getting caught up in other things. And it's a key cornerstone to emotional intelligence. So very often people that are not very self-aware have a lack of emotional intelligence, so to speak. I'm sure you've probably run into a few people like that. And it also allows us to understand and know ourselves better, which allows us to proactively manage our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. A high self-awareness score is a strong predictor of overall success. So most people that are very successful are quite self-aware. That makes sense. And how could we cultivate self-awareness? Create space for yourself. Spend a few moments each day with yourselves, reading, writing, blogging, meditating, reflecting, really checking in with yourself without any kind of distractions. Doesn't have to be a long time. I mean, it could be 5 minutes or 20 minutes, but just really getting in the habit of creating that space where you can have that internal discussion with yourself. Practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness is about paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So when you are mindful, you're really in the present moment, and you're just being curious and you're being observant of things. You're not really placing any kind of judgment or assumption on the things that you're seeing, and you're just in the moment, in that particular present moment. They say up to 90% of a person's day is spent on autopilot. That is just doing things without being fully aware that you're doing them. Being in the routine of doing things, we just do them. I don't know if you've ever found yourself driving home and you're suddenly in your driveway and you're like, oh, how did I get here? I don't remember turning that corner or whatever. That's sort of when you're on autopilot. Those kinds of things happen. Keeping a journal where you're reflecting on your day and your inner world, what you're feeling, what you're saying to yourself, and what you're observing is also a way to help with self-awareness. And practice listening. Pay attention to what other people's emotions, body movement, and language show empathy and understanding, and keep the judging or the critique or the assumptions at bay. When we're really listening, we're just being open and curious, and we're not drawing on our past history to make determinations about what somebody's saying or doing or whatever. We're just being curious and open. And the fifth way to cultivate self-awareness is to gain a different perspective. We're going to talk a little bit about that a little bit later on in the presentation, and I'll give you a tool that you can use to help you get a different perspective. So self-observation, what's self-observation? It's an objective observation of your attitudes, reactions, or thought processes. The key here is objective, so not judging. Just really, if you are able to sort of step back and like an observer of yourself when you're in a situation, you can try and take a pause and just be curious about how you're reacting or how you're responding to something that's going on. It takes a bit of practice to do this, but it's quite, it's interesting. If you find yourself being hijacked and you're able to step kind of out of it and just observe, the very act of observing with curiosity what you're doing or what you're thinking can stop that from happening. It's just identifying that you are making a reaction or something takes the power out of it, so to speak. And you become more aware of the thinker behind the thought. Benefits of self-observation. Breathing and centering are components. Oh, it skipped ahead there. No, I don't know. My buttons aren't working properly today. So breathing and centering are components of self-observation. Kind of like when you're meditating. And when you do this, you can help direct attention inward. And when you're directing your attention inward, as an observer, as being curious, it quiets the mind and it stills that voice that's telling you to do something that you don't want to do, or if you're trying to, if you're reacting to something, if you're able to quiet the mind by paying attention to what it is that your mind is doing, you're able to make better decisions or stay the course through a situation. And it's through noticing where our attention goes that we become aware of habitual patterns and preconceptions that we have, things that we do on a regular basis that we're maybe unaware that we do, that maybe are not good for us. Maybe there are things that are holding us back or creating situations that don't necessarily need to be there. And of course, where energy goes, where the attention goes, that's where the energy flows, or what you focus on expands. So really being able to proactively direct where your attention is really a good benefit of self-observation. And by becoming more aware of our habitual modes of thinking, feeling, and behaving, we're better able to direct our attention and make empowering, conscious choices, as opposed to reactions. So instead of reacting to something, we're actually proactively making choices to direct things in the way that we want them to go. Ways to cultivate self-observation. So when you're aware of the external experience, something that's going on for you, whether you're meeting somebody new or you're in a situation, try to become aware of your inner state at the same time, so concurrently together. When you are able to sort of step into your internal state and observe what the external state is going, that's one of the ways of self-observation. So it's something to practice, and it's really helpful to practice doing this in situations that are kind of non-reactive. So simple things like, perhaps if you are brushing your teeth or something, you're aware of the external experience of brushing your teeth, but if you could go into your internal self and just be curious about how you're feeling or what you're thinking at the time when you're brushing your teeth, things like that will really help you to get skilled at doing that. And the more you do it, of course, the easier it becomes. And internal awareness is the beginning of self-observation. It's essential that you're not judging or criticizing what you observe. As soon as you judge or criticize, then it distorts your emotions and it inhibits your process of becoming more self-observant and more self-aware. So it's just a thing of curiosity. You're just curious and you're just noticing that things are going on, but you're not actually making any kind of judgment about it whatsoever. You want to practice noticing what you're thinking, feeling, doing, imagining when you're doing regular everyday things. So the more you practice noticing these things, you'll have an easier time and you'll progress with your self-observation. So just everyday things that we do on a regular basis, just take a pause and kind of step into yourself and just think, what am I feeling at the moment? How is this making me feel? What am I thinking about while I'm doing this? What am I imagining? So just practice these things, and you can reflect on these things in a journal, just to get yourself in the sort of habit of practicing. And when you write it down, it's reinforcing this type of thinking and this practice. So it's really quite helpful. And the more observant you are, then the more you realize that there's often a difference between the observed and the observer. So, when you're in a situation with someone, why one person sees one thing and then the other person sees something completely different, that's sort of the observed and the observer. That's why people see different things. And the more you cultivate your own self-observation with curiosity and not with judgment or assumptions, you'll become more, you'll see more clearly what actually is going on. If you're walking in a labyrinth, I don't know if they have any labyrinths out in the valley, but certainly in Vancouver, St. Paul's has a lovely labyrinth. And walking in a labyrinth is a really good place to get grounded and to help you get into that practice of self-observation. It's a really neat experience. If you've never done it, it's really something to think about doing sometime, because it's kind of a neat process. And there's one at St. Paul's Hospital in Vancouver, which it's not open all the time. You have to kind of check when it's open if you wanted to go, but. So when you're self-observing, the part of you that is observing you is your true self. True authentic selves don't get caught up in the ego drama. So when you're being true to yourself and you're observing your true self, all the drama and the emotion of whatever it might be is gone. When you know this about yourself and you have practiced self-observation, you can get very skilled so that you're able to tap into that strength whenever you need it. So when you find yourself in a situation that you don't really want to be in, you don't have to get caught up in it. You can just step into yourself and go into your inner world and tap into that strength to just allow you to be curious and open and observe what's going on instead of getting drawn into it. It also allows you to see when you're behaving in alignment with your own goals and your values, and when you're not. So, if you have set goals and things that you're working towards, you can observe to see, am I keeping within my values? Am I keeping towards my goals? Is this activity or this behavior that I'm doing leading me towards my goal, or is it not? And it also helps when we're smiling, but we really feel sad. So acknowledging that we do really feel sad, or vice versa, or saying you're fine when you're not. Things like pretending to be mad when you're not really mad, or negative thoughts about yourself. And even when you're truly happy, content, peaceful, joyful. These are things when you go into that inner reflection, into that self-observation, you're able to really identify what's really going on, even though outwardly something else might be going on. You might feel that you need to be putting on that smile when you don't feel like it. And, you know, you might be thinking negative thoughts about yourself, but if you are able to go into your inner world and just be curious about that, as soon as you are curious about those things that you're saying, you know, in your head to yourself, it takes the power away from that. And, you know, you're able to provide proof to yourself that that's just simply not true. So really being able to tap into that strength of going into your self-observation to get yourself out of these funks. So let's talk about gaining a different perspective. So I want to talk to you about the Johari window. It's a tool that helps people to understand themselves better and others. It was created in 1955 by a couple of psychologists, Joseph Luft and Harrington Ingham. And it's a really simple little tool that you can use to get feedback from people. And then you can take that feedback and reflect on it, or do some self-discovery or whatever to help you understand how people see you. So this is the Johari window. So basically, it has 4 quadrants. And if you look down to the side, there, the bottom here, it's unknown to others. So these are things about yourself that other people don't know. And in the top section, these are things that other people know. So in the first column, the open self, this is information that you know about yourself and other people know about you. And below that is the hidden self. And this is the stuff that you know about yourself, but other people don't know. Over here, these are things that are unknown to self. So we have something called the blind self. This is information that you don't know about yourself, but other people know. So when you're getting feedback from people, this would be things that they're saying about you that you don't see for yourself. And this is an area for personal development that you can really do some reflection on and come to an understanding why people see this about you. This really helps you when you're working with colleagues or clients, and you want them to see you in a certain way. If they see you in a way that you don't see yourself, that could be some concern, because there's not a lot of trust between people that really don't see the same thing about each other. And down in the bottom, this is the unknown self. So this is information that you don't know about yourself and nobody else knows either. Seems a little odd. This would be things like, say you went skiing one day and you'd never been skiing before, you'd never been on a mountain, you didn't know anything about skiing, and it turned out you were a really great skier. That would be information that you wouldn't have known until you actually did it, and other people wouldn't know that either. So it's really untapped skills or things that you haven't tried, and so you don't know if you'd be good at them, or other people wouldn't know either because you haven't done them. In this particular diagram, all four squares are, well, I guess they're rectangles, but they are all the same size. This typically isn't how it is. It's unusual for them to be the same. And as people get to know you, let's see, doesn't want to go to another slide. Where did my thing go? Sorry. So here you can see that the open area here is larger and the hidden area is larger. This middle line has kind of moved over. So what would happen is when you first meet somebody and you don't really know very much about them, the open area is going to be fairly small. But as you get to know somebody, then it's going to open up. And so that line's going to shift over. And the hidden area, you're probably going to give more of yourself to people. So that's going to get smaller as well. And the blind area should get smaller too, because it's, as somebody gets to know you better, they're going to see more of you that you see, as opposed to things that they don't see. However, there will still be times that people will see things about you that might be true, might not be true, but there's things that you maybe don't agree with. So it's really helpful when you do this to actually do some self-discovery and reflection on those things. I'm going to try to, let's see. I just want to show you the Johari window. So here's the Johari window. There'll be a link in the bottom, or I can email it to anybody that wants it. You go into this thing and you pick 5 or 6 of these words from the list that you think describe yourself. And then you make yourself a unique name and you save it. And once you save it, then you can send a link to your friends or your colleagues or whoever you want, and they'll go in and they'll select your username, and then they'll put in 5 or 6 words that they think describe you. And once everybody's done that, then you get a report that comes out like the window there. And it's kind of fun to see what people actually think of you. I did this one time with a class that I was in. It was a course that I was taking, and some of the people in the course I had been in other courses with, and some people I hadn't known for very long at all. And there was quite a few people that, said that I was introverted, and it was really, it was kind of interesting because I'm actually not introverted. I'm quiet, and I'm a bit of an observer as opposed to someone who's out there, but I get my energy from outside and I don't get my energy internally. So that was kind of interesting to see how many people actually put that down for me, and it totally wasn't true. There is also something called the Johari window, which is a newer version, which is a bit more challenging. It talks about your failings. So it's the same thing. You'll pick 5 or 6 words that you think might be you, sort of more negative things. And then, you send it out and then you get back the feedback. So it's kind of, it's really interesting to see what you get on these things. So if you're at all interested in having this done, you can log in and send it off to your friends and see what happens. So here's the website for the Johari window. And I can always email it out if anybody's interested in it. But it's, even if you just click on Johari window test in Google, it'll come up. And the Nahari windows is virtually the same, it's just Nahari instead of Johari. So, how are you feeling? Is this making sense to you?
Yeah, no, I'm just looking it up right now. I'm going to be doing this and sending it out.
It's kind of a fun thing. I really thought it was interesting, and it gives you
makes you think about it, though.
Yeah, it really helps with the self-observation about yourself and self-awareness. And when you're working with clients, they buy from you when they know, like, and trust you. And people will only know, like, and trust you if they feel like they know you. And what you want them to do is know you the way you want them to know you, not in a different way. So it's interesting to really figure out how to do that. So it's a really fun thing, and it's completely free. There's no charge for it either, which is a really good thing. So yeah.
I was gonna say that's always a bonus.
It's always a bonus.
But yeah, no, I'll be doing that once we're off here, and then I'll send it out to a few people, see what they think.
So just to kind of wrap things up, just to become more self-aware and more self-observant, practice your internal awareness. Think about what you're feeling, thinking, observing while you're going about doing normal things. Just stop and just kind of peek inside and think to yourself, just be curious and be non-judgmental, just observe. When you're in a new situation or you meet somebody new, it's really helpful to observe whether you're listening to the person and being curious about them, or whether you're already making assumptions about who they are, what they do. And any assumptions that you're making are based on your past experience. So your history, so what you have known in the past. So really, we all do it. But it's good if you can kind of stop yourself. And as soon as you recognize that you're doing that, it will stop you from doing it, which is kind of interesting. So practicing being really curious about people instead of, trying to put them into a certain category or whatever. And, and doing the Johari window, and you can just ask people for feedback too. I mean, you don't have to go to the tests like that if you don't want to, although it is fun to do that. But if you're in a situation, maybe ask for feedback from somebody else who was there, who was maybe watching, to see what their take on something was, to see if it's the same as what yours is. And and just, really listening to the body language and the all kinds of things that people are, how they're responding to you, things they might be saying, and just being curious as to why they're saying that, and does that really fit with who you think you are. Of course, you know who you are, but they don't necessarily know who you are, and they might be thinking you're somewhat different than you truly are. So, whoops. That actually went really fast today. Usually I have more people and I have questions, but just to let you know that this was brought to you by the Inspired Influencers, and my business is Kickstart Coaching and Wellness. If you want to know more about Inspired Influencers, or Connect Now Business Network. You can connect through those websites. And I know, Katie, you are well aware of who Inspired Influencers are and Connect Now, so I won't go through the newsletter with you. And yeah, so that was our short little webinar tonight. Do you have any questions or comments?
Sorry, my phone stopped working. It froze for a second.
Oh.
I think I was getting a call, but it didn't come up.
Oh.
Oh, well.
Funny.
Alrighty, well, thank you for this. I will join you. So you do it, how often do you do this? You do it on the first...
First Tuesday of every month. So next month, we're going to be talking about conversational intelligence.
Ooh, awesome.
Yeah. So if you practice the self-observation and self-acceptance a little bit in the next month, it will really set you up in good, put you in a good place for conversational intelligence, which is a really interesting topic for me.
Yeah. Well, I will see you then for sure.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me tonight and have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Okay.